Hi, welcome to Vision of Growth. I'm your host, Larry Sassano. I'm the president of the Economic Development Council, Okaloosa County, and my special guest today is Dr. Joyce Gossom. Welcome, Joyce.
Hi, Larry.
It's a pleasure to have you on. It really is. This is one of the things I know you really enjoy doing. And Joyce, of course, is C2 for Walton Beach City Council and on the EDC Policy Board. And it's good to have you in that position, too. And I know that you're doing a great job. I do watch you and sit in the audience sometimes at the city council meetings, and Kay's there a lot, and we appreciate what you're doing for the city and for the county and for the EDC as well. So
Thanks.
I want to get coverage on some of the programs that are of benefit to the city and to the folks there. Let's start by a little background of Joyce Gossom. Now we know you.
Right.
And a lot of people know you, but I don't know if they know that you've been a successful business person, a entrepreneur, of course, a university instructor, and the list goes on and on. I mean, you do have a lot of wonderful things in your background. Can you just elaborate on some of those, please?
Sure. I'm a Jill of all trades, actually. Started out, as you know, Larry, years ago in special education as a K through 12 teacher in Chicago, Nashville, a couple of other cities. Morphed from that into the corporate world and started teaching technical people how to be instructors. Did that for a consulting company, was then hired by a utility whose name is very well known, and they were in the process of accrediting all of the training programs at their nuclear facilities and needed someone to help develop that process for them and develop the curricula and teach the folks and supervise the folks. Did that for several years, and then found my way into consulting and owning a business. And trust me, that was never the plan when I started out as a young graduate, but found out that I had a knack for it. And I would say that in the 10 years that I had my business, we exceeded our revenues every year from the previous year. So we were making money and expanding the client base. And then, of course, brought all of that back into higher education and served as an administrator and instructor.
That's a fascinating background of experiences, but somehow I see a lot of relationships with all of those, you know.
Very much so.
You know, the successful business person, you being on the city council, you understand how a business works. That's so important, you know.
Yes.
And I think it's nice. I think if someone running for a public office needs to have a little bit of experience with the business to understand how business people think today. So you've got that, and you're still an entrepreneur. You're always being an entrepreneur, you know.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about some of these programs that the City for Walton Beach is working on. First of all, a little plug. I know that you are looking for volunteers for your CRA. Would you, the message is out there, folks. If you're interested, you live in the City for Walton Beach proper. I've served on a CRA before. It's a great experience, and I think that if you've got an interest in your city, contact Joyce or, you know, contact Mike Baby, and and I think it's a great experience. Let me just leave it at that.
Thanks.
So the other thing I want to talk about, you've got some programs here that I don't know if I'm totally aware of, but maybe you can explain to the audience. The Matching Streetscape Grant.
That's a great program. It was established a couple of years ago by Tim Bolduc, who is our development services manager, and his staff, who work with the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency. And basically, if you think about First National Bank on Eglin Parkway, or Taco Bell on Eglin Parkway, Amil Eye Care Center, and O'Sullivan Creel, and the way those buildings and their outside of their buildings now look, those are the result of that 50-50 matching streetscape grant. So they put in landscaping, they did decorative lighting, they did pavers, and the city, through the CRA funds, matched what they put into it in a 50-50 ratio. Anyone driving through downtown, and maybe if they drove through downtown 5 or 6 years ago versus recently, they'll notice a huge difference in just the streeting and the layout of downtown Fort Walton Beach. Again, that's a result of that matching grant. The good thing about the matching grant program is that it's now been expanded so that it's not just for commercial businesses, it's also available for multifamily facilities. So condominiums and apartment complexes can now apply for that 50-50 matching streetscape grant.
Is this a state grant?
These are through the Community Redevelopment Agency funds, and the complicated thing about them is that it's always difficult to explain to people just what that is and where that money comes from. It's not an additional tax. It is the revenue that's generated from a specific region. In other words, we say this cup, everything that happens inside this cup, from this point forward, that extra tax revenue, we're going to take it and put it aside, and we're only going to spend that money back on things that go in that cup. Right. We can't spend it on that cup, just this one. That's a really simplified explanation, Larry, but that's what the TIF, or the tax increment funding money that is collected in the CRA. That's where it comes from, and that's what we'll use to do these kinds of grants.
Yes, and I knew that. I just wanted to make sure that.
You just wanted me to say it.
Also, I wanted to talk about the economic incentive programs. That, of course, those are something that we like to work together on, and they're very important, of course, to local businesses as they're expanding. And of course, we like to offer it to new businesses coming into the area too. So, you know, I have to say something. I really like the proactive approach that the city's taking in this area, because to me, you know, Fort Walton Beach is an entranceway into Okaloosa County.
I agree.
So there's some other things here that we're going to talk about in a minute, I think, that are going to make a difference, like the landmark project.
Yes.
When people come in, they see that'll be very visible. So how are these incentives applied, and that are on the city's list?
Good question. We just Tuesday approved 5 or 6 new programs, and they are all economic incentive drivers. That's their purpose.
Yes.
And they range from matching streetscape to building facade, so windows, doors, awnings, signage, those kinds of things. And they go all the way to a revolving loan program, so that if you are planning to expand your business or add to the physical building related to your business, you can apply for a very low interest 2 to 5 year loan and get the money that you need to do those improvements. And people will say, well, why are you using taxpayers' money to give to, you know, this business to do this, that, or the other? And again, you know this, but most people don't. Economic development is not just how many jobs are you adding. Yes, it is that, but it's not just that. It's creating an environment, it's creating a space, if you will, that is attractive, that draws not only businesses but also residents, because without the people, there's no one to patronize the business. So you have to keep that balance, and we're trying to make Fort Walton Beach appealing visually as well as infrastructure-wise to businesses and residents. And so that's why we've put these incentives in place.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
You know, you're right. Yesterday I spent some time around Uptown Station, and you're right, that whole area there
Yes.
really looks polished.
Yes.
And it's not something that somebody says, wow, look at the difference, but it's just subtly obvious.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the city has done there, and it's very appealing. Obviously, that area there is good traffic, and I went into Uptown Station to stop by Winn-Dixie there, and I saw a lot of moms with their children playing in that park in the center. What a great atmosphere that's created there,
Right.
you know. Nice, safe area they can be at and enjoy themselves, and, you know, kids are having fun, you know.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
well,
And that's really the focus, for me at least. What are we doing, and how are we being accountable to the taxpayers and the business owners in the city? Are we accountable? Are we doing what we need to do to create a quality place of life,
Yeah.
and where people want to live and work and play?
Right. We call it quality of place. That's our new term we've been using because,
I like that.
yeah, and the way it's defined is quality of life is like the umbrella. Quality of place applies to all ages, so there's something for all ages in a community that they can relate to and feel comfortable to be in that community.
Right.
And I think that, we're experiencing in Okaloosa County and some of the other counties in Northwest Florida a shortage of that 18 to 44-year-old workers. We've got to draw them back, and we've got to retain them here. And I think some of these programs help these entrepreneurial type businesses get an opportunity to do something that may be able to encourage them to do it here in Fort Walton Beach. So I think it's a great program. Did that all happen all of a sudden?
No, not at all. I think it goes back maybe 2 or 3 years. We put together a business retention panel and invited business owners and residents to serve. I think we ended up with 9 or 10 people. And we asked them to look at everything related to business and doing business in the city of Fort Walton Beach and give us their recommendations. And they did, and they were really good ones. They recommended things that ended up becoming some of the grant programs that we did within the CRA. They recommended things that we took and used as the foundation, I guess, for revising our comprehensive plan and revising the land development code. And I like to say that the land development code, and I'm going to steal your line, it went on a diet.
Yeah.
When somebody came in and they wanted to build something or they wanted to get permits, they basically had to wade through a 3 to 4 inch document to figure out what they were supposed to do. And most of the time, I couldn't figure it out or understand what I was supposed to do in terms of using it. The land development code for Fort Walton now is less than half an inch.
Incredible.
And it's simple, it's clean. Things are only stated once in the document, not 2 and 3 and 4 times, so you don't have conflicts within the land development code. Those are the kinds of things that we got from that citizens group, and which is why we ask people to participate on the boards and the committees.
It's a lot more user-friendly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you're going to attack the covenances for the Commerce Park too.
Yes,
I think.
my goal, my intent is that we look at all of the governing documents for the city and make sure that we've eliminated redundancy, we've eliminated things that are outdated, no longer operational, no longer necessary, and make it easier for the user. I think too often when you know how something operates or you know how something works and you write the directions for someone else to to follow, they're not very good because you make assumptions and you take leaps because you know that you can go from A to D. What I'd like to do is simplify our documents, because if we don't make it easy for people to come in and get building permits or figure out what fees they have to pay, or what paperwork they have to have processed, if we don't make it easy for them, they'll find someplace else to go.
That's right.
And open up their business.
That's right. You know, I always say when I have to get in front of a city council or county commission or any board or group, that when we have an opportunity to retain or grow an existing industry or attract a new industry, they could go anywhere.
Right.
You know, we can't be of the assumption that this is the greatest place in the world. We think it is, but we have to sell them on it, and to do that you need to offer them sometimes some sweeter incentives like what you're designing here.
Exactly.
And I think that goes a long way, and I think when people see that it's beneficial not only to the recipient of that, but to them as well, they'll get behind it and support it. So I think it's a great plan. You're really talking about expedited processing here.
Yes.
And that's a big thing now. And you know, I noticed in this last legislative session that the legislature and our legislators said that we want the local governments to be not only more receptive, but to be involved in the process of incentives. So if you've got an expedited permitting process in place, fantastic. You're going to get better marks and probably a higher consideration of some grant dollars for your community.
And that's what we're absolutely hoping.
All right, well, let's move on to some other fun things.
Okay.
Plans and activities for the city, for Walton Beach. Tell us about what you've got planned for. And I know those are things everybody loves. You got to get out and enjoy life beside work. So
Yes. And even there, we're factoring in economic development. Let me give you an example. We each year fund a group of 250 middle school and high school students from around the Southeast. Now, they're all volunteers.
Yeah.
They pay their own expenses. They pay their way to come here. And then we, the city, we take grant dollars, community development block grant dollars, and purchase roofing, paint, nails, shingles, all kinds of things like that. And we identify homes of either senior citizens or those who have physical or emotional challenges, and their homes need work. They need repair. Those young people come in and they do those repairs, and they spend a week. Now, how is that economic development? Okay, because again, going back to what I've learned from you, if it doesn't look welcoming, if it doesn't look like the rest of the houses in a neighborhood, it affects the property values, it affects the resale value, and it affects it when you bring a prospective business into town to take a look at our city, and they start to see these homes that need roofs or paint or stairs falling down. So that's going on in the city, and we do it every year.
That's a great program.
It's a wonderful program.
You know, I'm familiar with that program, and in fact, my family, it's involved with high school students with the church that, and my brother is a mentor to them because he's one of these jack of all trades, he can do anything. I can't, he can't. And he takes these students for a whole week, and they fix up homes,
Yes.
In the region.
Yes.
And I never thought my brother would do something like that. He loves it, and the kids loved him. So it's got a lot of internal value to the people that are involved with that as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and they enjoy coming, and we certainly need to have them come. And the residents who are benefiting from that are so grateful and so appreciative.
Can you get him to come over to my house?
No, sorry, Larry. Can't do that. Some of the other things that we're doing and that are going on, I know people may have been hearing about our plans to consolidate the recreation centers and develop an athletic complex. Again, there are economic development ties with that strategy as well. Fiscally, I don't think we would be responsible if we continue to spend money trying to repair and maintain the existing facilities. Some of them are 30 or 40 years old. At the same time, our young people have to go someplace else for their tournaments. There's no place in this area, in our county certainly, but in this region, to hold them. That athletic complex will do that. Going a step further, Jeff Peters, who is our Recreation and Cultural Services Director, has established an association, a sports association, that generates money from contributions, donations, and they help offset the cost for the All-Star tournament participation or the uniforms. The other day, Jeff told me that there was a woman who came in with her 3 children and wanted to enroll them. You know, I think one was interested in football, one soccer, baseball, different sports. And when she found out how much it was going to cost for each of the 3 children to participate in their sports, she looked at the children and she said, unfortunately, this year I can only afford for one of you to participate. Wow. Well, you can imagine, you know, the looks on the young children's faces. And Jeff, without missing a beat, said that his staff member was able to say, oh, no, we have an association just for situations like this. And so because of the sponsorship of our businesses and our residents, we've not ever had to turn a child away from participating on a team because of money.
Well, that's great. You know, that's the quality of life, quality of place aspect that is so critical. You know, when we look at a total program for economic development, that side of it is so important because when businesses are located here, they bring their families.
Right.
And they want to make sure that they have the good educational system and they've got activities that their children will be able to participate in and enjoy. And when they're offered to them in the community, then that community is doing their job too. So it works, you know, both ways. We've only got 4 minutes left. My God, I can't believe that. You know,
fast. Goes fast.
Because we got a lot more to talk about. But let's pick. Let me let you choose for these last 4 minutes what you want to focus on. We've got private-public partnerships, or we talked a little bit about the development code and everything. Maybe, what do you think about the private partnership? Those are kind of important to you.
They are very important. For example, our partnership with you, with the Economic Development Council, our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce for Fort Walton Beach, and making sure that the investment that the city is making into supporting your mission and your goals is also in turn benefiting the residents of the city. I think that's important. It's accountability. It's also good stewardship, and it just makes good sense. You know, at the local level, I think people get caught up in the national level of politics and decision making without sometimes realizing how much influence the city council members and the county commissioners have on their day-to-day living, their day-to-day life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to meet with Mike Beebe, and we're going to talk about some programs that I think we as partners can work together. And we've got a lot of activity right now in the economic development field, and a lot in Okaloosa County. And I want to bring Mike in to maybe make him more aware of some of the projects we're working, so he could give me some ideas of how we might be better in influencing these companies to make a decision, and let them know that there's an easier way to grow in Fort Walton Beach. And then, of course, we've got this partnership between the Chamber, the city, and the EDC. And we want it to continue to prosper, too. I think with representatives like yourself, you're going to help us see a clearer direction how to do that as well. So I appreciate that, your insight into all these programs and how we can play a role with your city there. And everybody comes out of it a win-win situation.
Yes.
So we've got less than 2 minutes. One last discussion point.
Okay.
What do you see the near future for the city with you and the rest of the city council members doing to take the city to the next level of growth?
Lots of things are on the horizon. I think people will begin to see a new look in terms of our social media and the way we're interacting with our constituents through the website. There have been rumblings that a computer committee has been established among the city employees, and they're looking
Put Tom in it?
No. They're looking at Facebook and Twitter and Foursquare and all of those social media. We've got to make sure that we're providing not only what our residents and taxpayers need now, but anticipating what they're going to need tomorrow and next year. And I think we're beginning to do that.
Excellent. Well, you've been watching and listening to Dr. Joyce Gossom, C2 of the City Council for Walton Beach, and on the EDC Policy Board.
That's right.
And making an impression on us as well. So glad that you took this direction.
Thank you.
And I know it's making a big difference for the city, and you know, the impact it'll have on all of us for what you and the rest of the city council members do in the near future will impact the growth of our area as well. So I thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I'm your host, Larry Sassano. Thank you.